Just one night, they said, but their hands were trembling. I stood in the center of their penthouse living room, my cheap canvas sneakers leaving marks on marble that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. The city stretched beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, a glittering empire they'd built with their own blood and brilliance. An empire I'd never belonged to, no matter how many nights I'd spent here. Hyun stood by the window, her silk blouse catching the dim light. Perfect posture. Perfect control. Except for the way her fingers gripped the back of the chair like she might fall without it. Salman was closer, always closer. Her eyes red-rimmed, mascara smudged at the corners. She'd been crying before I arrived. Neither of them had looked at me properly since I walked through the door. "The Kim family owns 40% of our company's debt," Haeun said finally, her voice steady in that CEO way that made boardrooms go quiet. "We borrowed heavily to expand into international markets 2 years ago. The loan comes due in 3 months. My stomach tightened. I didn't understand business, but I understood the edge in her voice. "We can't pay it back," Soman whispered. "We've tried everything, every bank, every investor, every possible refinancing option. No one will touch us because the Kims made it clear they want us to default." "Why?" The word came out hoarse. "Because they want our company." Haeun turned to face me, and the exhaustion in her eyes made her look 10 years older. "They've been circling for months, waiting. When we default, they can force a sale, buy us out for pennies on the dollar. Dismantle everything we built and absorb the profitable pieces into their empire." 300 employees lose their jobs, Soman said, her voice breaking. "Most of them have families, kids, mortgages. We promised them stability when we hired them." I gripped the back of the couch harder. "There has to be another way." "There was." Haeun's jaw tightened. "The Kims offered us one alternative. They'll forgive the entire debt and inject enough capital to triple our growth. We'll keep full creative control. Every employee keeps their job. The company stays ours." She paused, and the silence stretched like broken glass. "If we marry their sons." The floor dropped out from under me. "Both of us," Somin whispered, tears streaming freely now. "Haeun marries Minho, I marry Junho, a double wedding. I binding our families to theirs through marriage, giving them a permanent stake in our success without a hostile takeover." "That's..." I couldn't find words big enough for the horror. "That's insane. You can't just marry someone because of a business deal. People have been doing it for centuries." Haeun's laugh was bitter, hollow. "The Kims are old money, traditional. They believe in legacy marriages, in building empires through family bonds. This is how their world works." "Then let the company go." My voice rose, desperate. "Start over. You're brilliant. Both of you. You can build something new." "With what capital?" Soman stepped closer, her face ravaged. "We're leveraged to our necks, Jiwon. If we default, we'll spend years paying off personal guarantees. We'll be blacklisted in every financial circle that matters. And those 300 people? They'll have 2 weeks severance before they're thrown into a job market that doesn't care." "We built this company from nothing," Haeun said quietly. 8 years of 90-hour weeks, of sacrificing everything. Our families disowned us when we refused arranged marriages the first time, when we chose to build something together instead of marrying the men they picked. This company is all we have." "You have me." The words ripped out of my chest. The silence that followed was devastating. "For how long?" Haeun's voice cracked. "We have you now, in secret, in the spaces between our public lives. But what happens when the debt comes due and we lose everything? When we're broken and watching everything we built get torn apart? How long before you look at us and see failure?" "That's not fair. The contracts are signed," Soman cut in, her voice hollow. "We met with the Kims 3 days ago. The announcement goes public tomorrow at noon. There's a press conference scheduled, photos, press statements about finding love and building futures together." 3 days. They'd carried this alone for 3 days. "Why didn't you tell me?" My throat burned. Because we're cowards. Haeun moved toward me, and I saw the cracks in her armor spreading like fault lines. Because saying it out loud made it real. Because we wanted 3 more days of pretending we weren't about to lose you. We have tonight, Somin whispered, closing the distance from behind. 1 night before the world knows. Before their rings go on our fingers and we become someone else's. Before we have to smile for cameras and pretend our hearts aren't bleeding out. Her hand found my hip, trembling against the worn denim of my jeans. Please, Haeun breathed, her fingers lifting to my face. Let us love you. 1 last time. Let us memorize how you feel, how you taste, how you sound when you... Her voice broke. This will destroy me, I whispered. It's already destroying us. Somin's breath shuddered against my neck. We're dying, Ji-won. We've been dying since we signed those papers. Just let us feel alive 1 more time before we bury ourselves in duty. I should have left, should have walked away from this impossible, devastating choice they were offering me. But Haeun's hand was warm against my cheek, and Somin's arms were wrapping around me from behind. And I'd spent 1 year learning to love them in the spaces they could steal for me. 1 more night wouldn't change the ending, but maybe it would make the memory worth the breaking. Just tonight, I whispered. Their relief was palpable, physical, almost violent in its intensity. Haeun's fingers laced through mine, and they led me toward the bedroom. The bedroom door closed with a soft click that sounded like a coffin sealing shut. Haeun's hand was still laced through mine, her palm damp with sweat. Somin pressed against my back, her breath uneven against my neck, the soft pressure of her breasts against my shoulder blades. Ji-won. Haeun's voice cracked on my name. Her free hand lifted to my face, thumb tracing my cheekbone with a tenderness that made my chest ache. I need you to know, don't. I couldn't hear confessions, couldn't survive apologies. Just don't. Her jaw tightened, eyes glassy with unshed tears. Then she kissed me. It wasn't gentle, wasn't the soft, careful way she usually touched me. This was desperation made physical. Her mouth crashed against mine, hungry and raw, tasting like wine and grief. Somin's hands tightened on my hips from behind, pulling me back against her body. I felt every curve of her pressing into me, soft and warm and devastatingly real. Her lips found the curve where my neck met my shoulder, teeth grazing skin in a way that made my knees weak. We don't have much time, Somin whispered against my throat, and the words were both promise and threat. My shirt came off first. Haeun's fingers trembled as she pulled the fabric over my head, her gaze dropping immediately to my chest. The way she looked at me, like I was art, like I was salvation, made heat flood my entire body. God, you're beautiful, she breathed, her hands cupping my breasts through my bra, thumbs brushing over sensitive peaks. Every time I see you like this, I forget how to breathe. Somin's blouse hit the floor next. Then Haeun's, skin against skin, soft curves pressed together, the weight of their breasts against mine as they sandwiched me between them. 3 women tangled together, heat building in every point of contact. Haeun's mouth moved to my throat, then lower, tracing my collarbone with her tongue. Her hands worked the clasp of my bra, and when it fell away, she made a sound low in her throat that was pure need. Perfect, she murmured, and then her mouth was on my breast, tongue circling, teeth grazing gently. My back arched involuntarily, pressing into Somin behind me. Her hands slid around my waist, fingers splaying across my stomach, then moving up to cup my other breast. The sensation of 2 mouths, 4 hands, bodies pressing from both sides made thought impossible. Haeun guided me backward toward the bed, and when my knees hit the mattress, I let myself fall. They followed me down, the weight of them pressing me into sheets that smelled like us, jasmine and citrus and something indefinably theirs. Somin's mouth found mine while Haeun kissed down my sternum, hands working my jeans open. The denim slid down my hips, and cool air hit bare thighs before Heian's palms replaced it, warm and possessive, gripping the softness there. "I love your body," Heian said against my stomach, her breath hot. "I love every curve, every inch of you. I love how you feel under my hands. I love you." The words fell from Somin's mouth between kisses, broken and desperate. "I love you, I'm so sorry." "Stop apologizing." My voice came out harsh, wrecked. "If this is all we get, don't waste it on sorry." Something shifted in her eyes. She kissed me harder, deeper, her hand sliding down my body to grip my hip, fingers digging into flesh like she was trying to leave permanent marks. Heon's mouth traced the curve of my waist, kissing along my hip bone, her hair falling across my thighs. Every touch was deliberate, worshipful, like she was memorizing the geography of my body with her lips. Somin's hands cupped my breasts, thumbs circling peaks that were already sensitive and aching. The dual sensation, Heon's mouth moving lower, Somin's hands working me into gasping need, was overwhelming. "You feel like heaven," Somin murmured against my ear. "You've always felt like heaven." I reached for them both, hands finding soft skin and curves I knew by heart. Traced the dip of Somin's waist, the swell of her hips. Tangled fingers in Heon's hair as she kissed the inside of my thigh, making me tremble. Their remaining clothes disappeared. 3 bodies completely bare, pressed together in a tangle of limbs and desperate touches. Soft breasts against mine, smooth thighs sliding between mine, hands everywhere that mattered. Heian's mouth moved higher on my thigh, breath hot against sensitive skin. Somin's fingers traced down my stomach, lower, teasing. Both of them touching me at once, coordinated in the way only a year of learning each other allowed. "Remember this," Heian whispered, her mouth so close I could feel every word against my skin. "Remember how much we want you. How much we've always wanted you." My fingers dug into Somin's shoulders as sensation built, waves of heat radiating from every point of contact. Their mouths, their hands, the soft press of their bodies, all of it combining into something that felt like drowning and flying at the same time. "Please," I gasped, not even sure what I was begging for. More, less, everything, nothing that would make this hurt less tomorrow. Somin's hand slid lower, fingers finding wetness and heat. Heian's mouth followed, and the combination made stars burst behind my eyes. This was goodbye dressed up as intimacy, grief wrapped in desire, the ending we were all too weak to walk away from. Then Heian's phone shattered the moment. The ringtone cut through the room like a blade, harsh, insistent, wrong. We all froze. Heian's mouth stilled against my thigh. Somin's hand went motionless. 3 bodies tangled together, suddenly aware of how fragile this had always been. "Don't answer it," I whispered. But Heian was already pulling away, reaching for her phone. Her face went white when she saw the screen. "It's Minho." My stomach dropped. "Ah," she answered, her hand shaking. "Hello?" I watched her face crumble as she listened, watched color drain from her cheeks. "I understand," she said finally, voice hollow. "We'll be ready." The phone slipped from her fingers. "They moved it up," she whispered. "The announcement goes live in 2 hours. They want us at the Kim estate tonight." Not tomorrow. Tonight. Now. Somin's breath shuddered. "We have to go. Now." They left me in a room that still smelled like them. I heard the front door slam, heard their footsteps disappear down the hallway outside, heard the elevator ding and swallow them whole. Then silence. I stayed on the bed, naked except for my underwear, staring at the ceiling where city lights painted patterns I'd memorized over a year of stolen nights. My body was still humming with unfinished need, skin still warm from their touches, lips still swollen from their kisses. But they were gone. Gone to smile for cameras beside men they didn't love, gone to play the roles they'd signed contracts for, gone to become someone else's while I lay here drowning in jasmine-scented sheets. I pressed my face into Heian's pillow and let myself break. The tears came hot and vicious, ripping sounds from my throat that didn't sound human. My chest hurt like something vital had been torn out. My hands fisted in expensive fabric, clutching at ghosts, at memories, at the shape their bodies had left in the mattress beside me. 1 year, 365 days of believing this was real, that love could be enough, that maybe the universe would bend for us just this once. I was so stupid. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, a dozen times in rapid succession. I didn't want to look, didn't want to see the engagement announcement, the photos, the proof that they'd chosen duty over me. But my hand reached for it anyway, some masochistic part of me needing to see the evidence of my own heartbreak. The screen lit up with notifications, news alerts, social media explosions. And there they were, Hyun in a cream dress, Somin in midnight blue, the both of them standing beside men in expensive suits. Smiling, beautiful, untouchable. The headline read, "Fashion Empire Founders Announce Surprise Double Engagement to Kim Family Heirs." I threw the phone across the room, heard it hit the wall with a satisfying crack. Then I curled into myself and sobbed until my throat was raw. I don't know how long I stayed there. Time became meaningless. The only thing real was the pain splitting my chest open, the way my body still ached for their touches, the cruel irony of lying in their bed while they promised themselves to someone else. Then I heard the front door open. My heart seized. They came back. They changed their minds. But the footsteps were wrong, heavier, 2 sets instead of the familiar rhythm of Hayen's heels and Soman's softer tread. Male voices drifted down the hallway, low, confident. Terror flooded my veins. I scrambled off the bed, frantically searching for my clothes. My shirt was somewhere on the floor. My jeans were tangled in the sheets. I'd just gotten my bra clasped when the bedroom door swung open. 2 men stood in the doorway. They looked identical. Same sharp jawline, same expensive haircut, same tailored suits that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. The only difference was their ties, one navy, one burgundy. I knew who they were before they spoke. I'd seen their faces on my phone screen 2 minutes ago, standing beside the women I loved, Minho and Junho, the Kim brothers. "Well," the one in navy said, his gaze raking over me with cold amusement, "this is disappointing." I grabbed my shirt, holding it against my chest. "Get out." The one in burgundy laughed. Actually laughed. "Get out? Of a penthouse we have keys to?" He dangled a key ring, metal glinting in the dim light. "Surprise!" My stomach dropped. "How?" "Part of the engagement contract," Navy Tie said, stepping into the room. His brother followed, and suddenly the space felt suffocating. "We get access to all shared properties, for security purposes, of course." "You can't be here." My voice shook. I hated how weak I sounded. "This is breaking and entering. It's our property now." Burgundy Tie closed the door behind them. The soft click made my skin crawl. "Technically, you're the one trespassing." I backed toward the far wall, pulse hammering in my throat. "I'm leaving." "Not yet." Navy Tie tilted his head, studying me like I was an insect under glass. "We've been very curious about you, Jiwon." Hearing my name in his mouth made my blood run cold. "How do you—" "We've known about you for days," Burgundy Tie said, leaning against the dresser. "Had a private investigator tracking our dear fiancés, making sure they weren't doing anything inappropriate before the wedding. Imagine our surprise," Navy Tie continued, circling closer, "when we got an alert tonight, our investigator watching this building, seeing you arrive. We knew exactly what was happening. The call, the emergency, it was all a test," Burgundy Tie confirmed, reading my expression. "We wanted to see if they'd actually go through with it, if they'd really be stupid enough to cheat on us mere hours before the announcement." "And they were." Navy Tie's smile was razor sharp. "So we called with fake urgency. I got them out of the apartment and came to see for ourselves what was worth risking everything for." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the horror of realizing This had all been orchestrated. They'd known. They'd watched. They'd waited. "We expected a man," Navy Tai said, stopping a few feet away. "Some powerful CEO, a rival, someone who could actually threaten us. But this?" Burgundy Tai gestured at me, his expression dripping with contempt. "A broke little artist who looks like a drowned rat? This is what they threw their dignity away for?" Rage flared hot in my chest, burning through the fear. "Get out! You're not in a position to make demands." Navy Tai's voice dropped, dangerous and cold. "You touched what belongs to us, women we haven't even claimed yet. That requires correction." He stepped closer. I pressed my back against the wall, trapped. "What are you—" "Punishment," Burgundy Tai said simply, pushing off the dresser, "for daring to put your hands on our property." They moved toward me in unison, predatory and synchronized. I tried to run, tried to dart past them toward the door, but Navy Tai was faster. His hand shot out, catching my wrist in a grip that made me gasp. Pain radiated up my arm as his fingers dug into bone. "Let's see," he whispered, pulling me closer, his breath hot against my face. "What made you worth ruining everything for?" Pain exploded across my face before I registered the movement. His palm slammed on the side of my face, hot and blinding. My head snapped to the side, cheek burning where his palm had connected. The taste of copper flooded my mouth. I'd bitten my tongue. "Answer me." Minho's voice was ice wrapped in silk. His grip on my wrist tightened until I felt bones grinding together. "What did you do with them?" I spat blood at his expensive shoes. His expression didn't change. Just wiped his hand on a handkerchief he pulled from his pocket, then backhanded me with the other side. This time I saw stars. "Feisty," Junho observed from where he blocked the door. "I can see the appeal, in a pathetic charity case sort of way." I tried to yank my arm free, tried to run, to fight, to do anything except stand there while they circled me like sharks. Minho moved faster than I expected. His other hand caught my free wrist, and suddenly I was trapped, arms pinned, facing a man whose smile promised violence. "Let me go," my voice shook. I hated it. Hated the fear bleeding through every syllable. Or what? He leaned closer, breath hot against my face. "You'll scream? This penthouse is soundproofed. That's why they brought you here, isn't it? So no one would hear." Junho moved behind me, completing the cage. I felt him there, solid and threatening, blocking any escape. "Tell us," Minho said softly. "Tell us how you seduced our fiancés. What tricks did you use? What did you do to make them risk everything?" "Nothing." The word came out defiant despite the terror clawing up my throat. "They loved me. That's something you'll never understand." His eyes went cold. "Dead." "Loved," he repeated. "Past tense. How poetic." Junho's hands clamped down on my shoulders from behind. "Let's show her the view," he said, voice light like he was suggesting coffee. "Since she's here, she should appreciate the penthouse properly." They dragged me toward the windows. I fought, kicked backward, connected with someone's shin. Twisted in their grip hard enough that fabric tore, screamed even though Minho said no one would hear. But there were two of them, and one of me, and they were stronger, and within seconds I was pressed against the cold glass, 53 floors above the street. The city sprawled below like scattered diamonds, beautiful and deadly and impossibly far away. Amazing view, isn't it? Minho's breath fogged the glass beside my face. His body pinned me from behind, crushing me against the window. Our family owns half those buildings. We built this city with our wealth and influence. And you're nothing, Junho added, his hand splayed against the glass beside my head. A poor little artist playing pretend in a world you'll never belong to. The glass creaked under the pressure. I felt it bow slightly, and panic spiked through my veins. "Stop! Do you know how easy this would be?" Minho's voice dropped to a whisper against my ear. One push, glass breaks, you fall. A tragic accident. Heartbroken mistress throws herself from her lover's penthouse after they announce their engagements. No one would question it, Junho agreed. The narrative writes itself. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. I could feel the glass bending, could imagine it shattering, could see myself tumbling through empty air toward concrete that would end everything. Please. The word tore from my throat. Please don't. There it is. Minho sounded satisfied. Fear. That's what we wanted to see. He stepped back suddenly, and I gasped for air. But relief lasted exactly 2 seconds before I heard the sound that made my blood freeze. The window sliding open. The massive pane of glass glided aside with a mechanical hum, and suddenly there was nothing between me and 53 floors of empty air except the men holding my arms. Cold wind rushed in, vicious and sharp, cutting through my thin bra and underwear. My shirt was still clutched in my hand, useless. Beautiful night, Junho said conversationally, like we were admiring the weather instead of standing at the mouth of a drop that would kill me. They pulled me closer to the opening. My feet stumbled forward against my will, dragged by their grip on my arms. Stop! I tried to plant my feet, but the floor was smooth marble and my socks had no traction. Stop, please, I'll do anything. Anything? Minho's smile was cruel. Interesting. They positioned me right at the edge, close enough that I could lean out and look down, close enough that the wind whipped my hair back and made my eyes water. I made the mistake of looking. The street was a ribbon of light so far below it didn't look real. Cars moved like toys. People were invisible from this height. If I fell, I'd have time to scream the entire way down. Time to know I was dying. Time to regret every choice that led me here. Tell us you'll disappear, Minho said. Promise you'll never contact them again. Never speak of this. Never exist in their world. Yes. The word came out broken, desperate. Yes, I promise, I'll disappear, I'll never beg better. Junho's voice was flat. On your knees. Make it convincing. But I couldn't get on my knees. I couldn't move because they were lifting me. My feet left the ground. The scream that tore from my throat was pure animal terror. They held me by my arms, dangling me partially out the window, my legs kicking at empty air. No, 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 please, God, please. The wind screamed past. My shirt ripped from my hand, disappearing into the darkness below. I watched it fall, tumbling through space, getting smaller and smaller until it vanished. That would be me. That would be my body. Please. I was sobbing now, all pride gone, all defiance shattered. Pull me back, please. I'll do anything. I'll leave. I'll never. Their laughter cut through the wind, cold, cruel, enjoying every second of my terror. This is what happens, Minho said, his grip on my left arm like iron, when you touch what doesn't belong to you. Remember this feeling, Junho added, holding my right arm. Remember how powerless you are. They pulled me back slightly, just enough that my feet touched the floor inside, just enough that I could breathe. Hope flooded through me, desperate and pathetic. They were going to let me go. They'd made their point. Junho's grip slipped. I felt his fingers slide, felt my arm pulled down by my own weight, felt gravity take hold. Oops, he said, and there was no remorse in his voice, just cold amusement. My body tilted backward, fell toward the opening, toward 53 floors of nothing. My Minho's single hand was all that held me, 5 fingers wrapped around my wrist, the only thing between me and death. I screamed his name, screamed for help, screamed wordlessly as my body dangled in space, the city spinning below me, the wind tearing at my skin. His face appeared above me, looking down at where I hung from his grip. And he smiled. Should I hold on? He asked softly. Or should I let go?